When I tell y'all, we prayed for me to get better and nothing changed. Girl, we prayed. I prayed. The neighbors prayed. My husband prayed. The church prayed. But God had a plan, and I had to sit in that for a while. So I've learned that God takes the hard way. But even when you're in the valley, there's a purpose for it. We just have to be patient with Him, trust that He's not going to leave us there to die. And when we come out of it, be ready to do something with what you survived.
That is quite a story. And so as you begin talking, I was thinking, oh, she had a whole spiritual attack. And this spiritual attack lasted a very long time. That wasn't
Yeah,
like a short spiritual attack. And I believe in moments like that, like that's where God makes us. That's where God
absolutely.
gives us the courage. That's where He gives us the strength.
For us to see, you know, do we really love each other?
She was a wise woman.
You don't know what you don't know, right? So once you're exposed to something new, you're like, wow, this is how it's supposed to.
I don't know what to do. He will, of course, cover me in prayer. I have done things my own way, very erroneous.
I mean, when I tell you endured,
It was just the overflow of every emotion.
The word widow, I completely despise.
Has tainted this area of sex so much.
Thriving Decrees for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss is a tool that was curated to help you grow, develop, and thrive in your role as a leader. Whether it concerns you as a mother, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, as a minister, or just a leader in your community, this book contains tools to help you overcome anything that keeps you from walking in the fullness of who God has called for you to be as a leader in your respected areas. Make sure you go to my website at www.clemetriadeshay.com and order your copy.
Hey, Kingdom Wife Mom Boss, thank you so much for joining me today on another episode of the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast. I'm so excited to have a special guest here. This is Miss Nicole Hicks. All right, Nicole, full warning. I don't know where this squirrel comes from, but it scales my house. And normally my dog just ignores it, but I just heard him like barking at it. So if you hear the barking,
So
just
good.
just ignore it. It's just a squirrel scaling the house, and he just barks at everything that he hears. So just wanted to give you forewarning on that. So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
First of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. I always feel honored when other creators allow me to come into their space and speak about my platform on your platform. So thank you for having me. So yes, I am affectionately Coach Nicole, and whenever you see me talking or interviewing, I always have my coach's hat on because coaching is not just for sports, but it is also for faith and it is for kingdom building. So I am Coach Nicole, owner and founder of Faith Over Fear Biblical Life Coaching. And what I do is coach women to move from a place of surviving to thriving and understanding that faith truly is a lifestyle walk. It's not an accessory, it's not something that you pick up and put down, but it truly is understanding that faith is a lifestyle. The same way I have to put these glasses on every day, girl, or I'm not going anywhere. That's the same way you need to put your faith on. If I don't have these glasses on, I can't go downstairs. I can't drive my car. I certainly can't go to the store, right? If you were to leave this home, what would you probably do? Turn around and go back for it, right? Because that's how important you view this accessory in your life. But do you approach faith the same way? We absolutely should. When you get up in the morning, the first thing that you put on are your glasses or your wig, whatever you've got. You need to put your faith on before you step into the world to be able to fight anything that comes your way. You fight it with faith over fear.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Okay, so I wear glasses. My eyesight is bad. But girl, did you say not go down the stairs?
Listen, I mean, I can go. But am I going to go the way I would go if I had these glasses on? No. What would I be doing? Like, really trying to look down and see where I'm stepping, right? I would really have to be cautious. I would not move with confidence going down those steps, right? And that's really the
Oh,
key.
yes.
And the key to being in the kingdom is that we are daughters of royalty. We are daughters of the king. So every time we take a step, we should be stepping forward with confidence. And that's where our faith is. So yeah, I would still, prayerfully make it down the steps, but I would not move the same way I'm going to move with these glasses. And that's how we have to look at faith.
Amen. Amen. So coaching is essentially leading, equipping, building, elevating whoever we are assigned to coach to the next level. So even in sports, that's what they do. In our calling of being kingdom coaches, that is exactly what we do. And we all have our own niche, like our own assignment that God has called us to. And so I love that you made that comparison. Very, very important comparison. So this past week, I just want to share something with the community. I was looking over, I think I was looking for a prophecy. Like a prophecy came to mind. You know how you write your prophecies down? And I do a lot of journaling. So I was looking through the book, looking for this prophecy, and I started reading a whole bunch of things that God had spoken to me. And I was like, wait, I'm living that. I'm living that. And so it was like, sometimes we say that God is a promise keeper, but when we don't see things move immediately, we forget that he's a promise keeper for us too. And I think it's a very common trait, but a little bit toxic, that we can encourage other people and we can motivate other people, but we forget ourselves sometimes. And so I was reading that and I was like, God, you know what? You are so good, because I'm living out some of these things and I still see some promises that are to come. So I want to encourage the community, and I'll be sharing this with my personal community too, is to just go back over the things that you have journaled or the things that God has said to you, whether it was in your quiet time or through a word of the Lord from somebody else, and just remember the promises that God has for you. And I believe that that is remembering your faith. Sometimes fear is like the fear of it not happening. So you just cast it
Mhm.
down and forget that it was even something that God said. It's just kind of like, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But remember one time God said to me, he said, wait like you believe what I said.
Absolutely.
I was
Absolutely. I
like,
love
oh,
that.
that one snatched my pearls. And so for me, I think what you do and how you equip and lead and encourage your community is just an amazing example of a kingdom coach advancing the kingdom through the people.
I love that. And I love that you said that, because a lot of times we're in December, right? And now what are people doing? They are looking at making goals for the new year. And that is important. I'm actually going to be hosting a free workshop. It's going to be in January though, to talk about having your spiritual goals for 2026. We have all these health and fitness goals, we have career goals, financial goals, but when's the last time you sat down and made some true spiritual goals? And somebody said, well, why won't you do it in December? Well, because God is not finished, right? And we really need to take this time, just like you said, and think about the year. What did you survive? I often say in my coaching, what are you doing with what you survived? Before you can plan forward or move forward, you need to reflect. You need to sit with what happened this year and also what didn't happen. And if there needs to be grief about that, then handle that as well. But before you walk into 2026 with all of these goals, you need to sit with God about what came to pass. And if it didn't, that doesn't mean that it won't. But in some instances, there were some redirections that you need to reflect over and that you need to understand. And we're so ready to get past a year and turn the page that we forget to think about, what did I come through? We came through a shutdown. We've come through all these other economic things. We've come through illnesses, a lot of us. We've come through things in our marriages and with our children. We've come through all sorts of things. And so sometimes we need to sit with that at the end of the year and say, God, I thank you. even for the things that didn't happen. Because if we believe Jeremiah 29:11, that the plans are always good, never to harm, but to prosper, then even the things that didn't happen, we still have to be grateful for, because God would never allow us to have anything that wasn't good for us. He would never allow anything in our life if he didn't have a purpose for it. So there has to be space even to reflect on those things as well. So don't rush this year away just yet. Make sure you sit with God, you reflect, and you really understand who he is in your life and where his plan is for you.
Yes, that is absolutely key and beautiful. And you said a couple of things in there, but I realized that we didn't. Where are you from?
I'm from Baltimore. So I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I'm
And you
from. So a
have
lot of
kids?
people that, hmm?
You have children?
I do. So I have a wonderful husband named Kyle, and I have one 8-year-old daughter that sometimes you might see through my social media running around, named Layla, and she calls herself my manager. So you may see her sometimes in some of my content as well. Yep. But born and raised in Baltimore, home of the Ravens. We love steamed crabs here as well, and crab cakes, of course, Old Bay, all of those things. Yeah.
That is funny. You said your 8-year-old calls herself your manager.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She tells me
Baby.
what to do. She gives me different things that I should do, and I listen to her because she has her own relationship with God. And so sometimes the things she gives me, the Bible tells us a child shall lead us. So I don't dismiss her just because she's 8 years old. Some things I listen to, and she's given me some nuggets that have been really good sometimes. So, I incorporate and where I feel appropriate into the business.
I just think that's funny because you're in for it, honey. Because I mean, as she's being your manager, she's gonna grow, and you're essentially her coach as well, obviously. So she's
Yes.
gonna be growing and developing, and I think that's absolutely amazing because you're giving her tools and skills that she won't learn in school. So when she gets out of school and continues with her life, like she'll have these tools and these skills. I think that's absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. And look, the funny thing about her is she already has big ambitions. She will surpass me. She wants to be an astronaut doctor. All right, just sit with that. So I'm like, why do you want to be an astronaut doctor? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but why? Well, she says by the time she's an adult, we'll be in space and they will need healthcare in space. And then she said, I'm going to go up there and coach the people too, Mom, about God while I'm helping them. So she's got a whole plan, girl. Whole plan. Yep.
That's beautiful, actually.
It
I love it.
is.
Listen, if you see me
Yes.
drinking my water, I'm gonna tell you. I'm in a water challenge right now, and I absolutely need it because after the holidays, I am incredibly dehydrated. I feel it so bad, it's toxic. So you're gonna see me sipping
Yes.
my water a
You
lot throughout
good.
here.
It's all the
But
salt. It's all the salt we ate.
it
That's all.
is, it's so
Yes.
bad. And the sugars. The sugars was
Yes.
sugaring this past
Yes, they
weekend.
were. Yes.
So, anyways, tell us about your journey. How did you get to this place where this is the place where God has called you? And what are some things that you walked through to get you here?
My goodness. So this is probably the tissue part of the segment here. Bring your
Go,
tissues out.
go,
This part is
go.
a little heavier. So 2024, I was living my best life. It was my birthday in May. We were in New York. I was seeing a Broadway show with my husband and my best friends, and we were having a great time on my birthday. Literally the next day, I woke up. I didn't feel good, and it's hard to explain, but I could feel life leaving my body. It's the only way that I can explain it to people. I had been perfectly healthy up until that point, no history of any health problems, took zero medications, nothing. And I just started getting worse to the point that I said to my husband, call 911. I don't know what's wrong. So that led me being taken by ambulance to the hospital. And I remember looking at him and saying, I don't know that I'm going to come out of this. Just take care of our daughter. We are all hysterical. We don't know what's wrong with me. Ends up that kicked off a entire year of health challenges that I did not see coming. Now, it all was tied to my thyroid. But before I got a proper diagnosis through this whole spring, summer, fall of 2024, I went through chronic insomnia, chronic anxiety, depression. I battled suicidal thoughts many times. My providers put me on some medication to help with those symptoms while they were still trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And when I started feeling a little bit better and I wanted to come off of that medication, I became physically dependent upon them. And I could not just come off. And I ended up having to go into a mental health facility and get a detox, almost like alcohol withdrawal plan. So now I am in all these spaces that I have no idea how I have gotten in. In the middle of that, I'm hit with a cancer scare, and now I'm going under biopsies, more than one. There were 6 that I had to endure, all at the same time, trying to be a wife and a mom. And, we still got to go to work a little bit because these jobs are only but so understanding. Even though I've been there so long, I'm battling all of this. And when I want to be clear, because sometimes when people hear the terms chronic anxiety and chronic insomnia, they think that means, oh, just one night of not sleeping. Or no, I mean being up for 4 and 5 days straight. Right. I mean, anxiety that you can feel in your body. If you've never felt that, when I say suicidal thoughts, I did not want to leave this earth, but the enemy will plant thoughts in your mind like this is a burden on your family. You would be better off not here. Maybe you should walk in traffic. And I'm just being transparent. Again, I was perfectly healthy. So then last November, I ended up having my thyroid removed and I had to recover. That was a major surgery that I came through. And I'm saying that intentionally because I'm going to circle back to that surgery. So while I was recovering at home, I was the last person to get on TikTok. Last person. Everybody's on TikTok sending me TikToks. I can't see them because I don't have TikTok. But when you're home and you're up all the time and you're recovering, I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and download this thing, see what's on here. One of the first people I came across on TikTok, she happened to be a biblical life coach. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But I had never heard that phrase before. Followed her, and then I would have a routine where every morning she would go live and she would do like a devotional, and I would go in there and kind of learned a little bit more about that was, but I didn't really think that was for me. So then about 30 more days later, while I'm still recovering, I start to see all these advertisements about being a biblical life coach, and I was like, what is this? Because I have never seen this, and I watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of TV, y'all. I've never seen an advertisement for a biblical life coach in all of my years. So I just said, you know what, God, maybe you're trying to show me something. And I remember when I was in this fight with my health, I just kept saying faith over fear, faith over fear, faith over fear to get me through every day. So I ended up finding a school, applying, interviewing, all these things. I got accepted and I went through the courses to become certified. And so I launched Faith Over Fear Biblical Life Coaching in May of this year. And it has been very successful. It has taken off and it has exceeded the little bit of expectations that I had. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. Entrepreneurship was never on my bingo card for my life, as I like to say. But God let me be in that valley to be able to be what you see in front of you, talking with you today. And the reason I mentioned my thyroid surgery so much is if you know anybody who's had their thyroid removed, the number one risk of that surgery is that you will lose your voice. And that when you come out of it, because it's so close to your vocal cords, you will lose your voice. And I tell people now, the enemy knew I would be here. He knew I'd be talking to you all on this podcast. He knew that was God's plan. And so his goal was to take my voice. His goal was for me, excuse me, to not be able to speak, to not encourage, to not say faith over fear. Because when I came out of that surgery, I sounded just like I sound today, which only 1% of patients experience when they come out. Most people have very hoarse voices or can barely speak. But for me, my full voice was there. And that was God's promises that you were mentioning earlier. He always promised to keep me. He always said the plans were good, even though I was in that valley. And when I tell y'all, we prayed for me to get better and nothing changed. Girl, we prayed. I prayed. The neighbors prayed. My husband prayed. The church prayed. But God had a plan and I had to sit in that for a while. So I've learned that God takes the hard way, but even when you're in the valley, there's a purpose for it. We just have to be patient with him, trust that he's not going to leave us there to die. And when we come out of it, be ready to do something with what you survived.
That is quite a story. And so as you begin talking, I was thinking, oh, she had a whole spiritual attack. And this spiritual attack lasted a very long time. That wasn't like a short spiritual attack. And I believe in moments like that, like that's where God makes us. That's where God
Absolutely.
gives us the courage. That's where he gives us the strength. And so one of my favorite scriptures that I tell my children, which I'm pretty sure is probably one of your staple scriptures, is for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And of
Absolutely.
course, those synonyms are agitation, panic, and anxiety, distress, uneasiness, apprehension, nerves, timidity. And I could keep going with that list, but you sound like a very bold faith coach. Like you got this instruction from the Lord and you took this instruction and you ran with it and you did everything that he's calling for you to do as far as faith over fear. So what is the ideal client that you work with?
Sure. So it's open to all women. Typically, the women that I see that tend to be my ideal client, if you will, typically they're dealing with chronic illnesses. A lot of times, we are suffering from some type of grief or trauma that they are trying to get over or overcome. They have been dealing with what they think is spiritual warfare, but they cannot, truly identify that because a lot of times we will say it's just a bad day, but when it's 7 or 8 days in a row, that is not just a bad day. And a lot of times it's women that are trying to understand who they've aligned themselves with, if they are people that are for them or not, or are they truly walking in God's will or are they not? Also, people who have had their faith extremely challenged, and where they, are now understanding, should I question God? Does God even like me? Is he in heaven just being mean to me on purpose? Because, you ever feel like somebody else got your blessings? You ever feel like what you prayed for went to somebody else who you don't even really think was deserving? Or why does God always come for me? Like, why can't it be my break? We see those memes on social media. I didn't sign up for the Strongest Soldier program, right? And so a lot of my clients are people who feel like they keep being enrolled in the Strongest Soldier program, but that is also indicative of your assignment in the kingdom, and that's a lot of what we talk about in our sessions.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes,
Like
girl.
I didn't sign up for this today. Like
I
what
did.
what is going on? But they say why not you? And I think that number one, thank you for explaining the kind of client that you have. A lot of people don't understand spiritual warfare. I find that there are a lot of people who I don't want to say they don't believe in spiritual warfare, but they
Mhm.
feel like you're doing too much when it comes to spiritual warfare. And I'm just like, listen, as long as you want to sit back on it, then the enemy is going to keep striking. Like he's going to keep gaining ground and gain territory. You got to recognize what it is and come after it. So I think that is absolutely amazing that
Absolutely.
kind of type of.
And you really have to understand, two things. One, when you decide to follow God, you're putting a target on your back. Right. And this is why I say don't be jealous of people out there in the world that you feel like nothing ever happens, bad to them or they never have a spiritual attack because the enemy is not coming for them because they're not a threat to the kingdom. So sometimes you have to look at it like that. Don't be jealous of people who never go through anything because there's something about them that the enemy doesn't feel like he needs to do anything to get them, right? Because maybe they're already, rocking with him more than you realize. Maybe they're already in the world, right? But following God, yes, you're putting a target on your back. So, like baby Christians, as I like to call them, get very discouraged those first few months because they think, oh, I signed up now. I'm saved. I got baptized. It's going to be easy. Wrong. It's
Yeah,
not.
put your
It
dukes up.
that's right. But we hands up faith over fear every single time. You will come through it. But yes, it's a level of attack. And then, yes, everything is spiritual. We have to remember that this was not God's original design. We are in a fallen world. So we are in the world, but not of the world. And so we have to move accordingly. Everything is spiritual. Remember, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So if whatever you're experiencing or whoever you've aligned yourself with, you're experiencing one of those three things, it's definitely a demonic attack or assignment on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So two things. I encourage people who are not confident or in a moment of feeling inferior or having some insecurity issues. Stay off social media. Like social media is not going to help you. It's going to discourage you more and it's going to take you off course of what God has instructed for you to do because then ambition and jealousy starts taking over. You see other people do stuff and you're like, I can do that. I want to do it. But that's not necessarily what God instructed for you to do in the moment, right? And the
Mhm.
second thing, I remember God telling me to pray for my community, pray for some things in my community. And he very specifically said to me, when you start seeing people get things that you don't think that they deserve to have, just remember, just remember that it is part of my plan. You can't
That's
do
right.
everything. One person can't do everything. I have certain people that I need to do stuff. And my mentor always says, God can use a donkey. Baby, God
Absolutely.
can use a donkey. And the gifts are
Absolutely.
without repentance. And so God is going to get his point across. Like he is going to get his work done here in the earth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's soul is saved and that they're going to heaven. And that just because you see them out in the community doing stuff or they're getting blessed with stuff or they're having stuff, it doesn't mean that you know what I mean? That you should be jealous of them because as long as your soul is right with God, as long as your relationship is right with God and you're being obedient to his instructions and what he's calling for you to do in this season, then that's all you need to worry about because then that means that, you're on the right page with God. But it can be real
Yeah.
easy to see other people and get distracted or get frustrated because we feel like we're not moving. And for me, that's where
Absolutely.
daily intimacy time with God is so important because it keeps me strong in my spirit knowing that me and God have this relationship and I'm
Uh-huh.
right where he needs me to be.
Absolutely. You will never miss what's meant for you. You will never miss it. No one can take it. Now, you can lay it down, but you will not miss the opportunity to have it if it's in God's will for your life. Right. And what you said about social media is so key because I think we forget social media is a marketing tool. That's really what it's there for. So no one's on there really showing their bad day. I mean, some people are, but at best, it is to show the good parts if you will, of my life. But we know we have filters, right? We have other things that were created to really just show you the best parts of people. Well, yeah, if I dress up something every day, it is going to appear better than it really is. But if you were to peel back those filters and really go into the drafts of people's social media, you would see things that were more like you than we probably realize.
Yeah. So what did you do before you did entrepreneurship coaching?
So I still do work a full-time job. So I'm not 100% into entrepreneurship yet, but me and God are on a plan to get there. So I still do actually my career is in IT, believe it or not, something totally separate than what I do on the coaching side. So I do still work in an IT career at a high level. And then, of course, I have my coaching business as well. And I'm continuing to walk into entrepreneurship. I know I talked to you a little bit about my children's book that came out Black Friday as well. So I'm just continuing to expand my kingdom entrepreneurship footprint.
I love that. I still work a full-time job too, girl. Full-time job,
Yes,
coaching, podcast, books, all of the things. And sometimes I'm like, okay, God, I know this is nothing but you. Because I
absolutely.
myself, baby, I would be like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go take a nap,
Yes.
God.
Yes. Lay all the way down, like and not get up for
Listen,
a bit.
lay it
Yes.
down. I'm gonna lay this right here.
Yes.
I'm gonna go over here and take a nap. But God don't. He be like, no, ma'am, you need to get up and type this out. You need to get up and do
Absolutely.
whatever. And so
Yes.
he always gives me the energy that I need to fulfill whatever he needs me to fulfill through the day. And I always ask him every morning, like, God, what can I get done today? What do you want me to do today? And for me, that is another version of faith over fear. It is having faith that God is going to give me what I need to exercise his will in today instead of just automatically saying, I can't do it. It's too much. And so that was something that I had to pick up over the years. And so I love the message that you give because it can be distributed in so many different ways. There are a lot of women out here who are essentially feeling like they're by themselves in this journey, especially of uncertainty. And so the coaching community, I think I said on either my last podcast or the one before, we are support staff. So, who has God assigned for you to be your support staff? Like, who is the one that is going to help you get through this so that you can get to a place? Also, I'm a Thrive coach, so I love your Survive to Thrive. Like, that is my
Oh, yes.
yeah, I am a Kingdom Thrive coach to get you from this place of stagnancy so that you can thrive in what it is that God has planned for you to do. But I deal with wives and family and restoring the family through the wife. So I love that your dedication to the coaching community to make sure that these ladies are getting to the place that God has for them to be.
Yes, and when you were talking about sort of seeking God every day, that's probably my number one coach's tip that I always give is before you start your day. Yes, it is the faith. We know we need to put that on just like these glasses, but you should have a conversation with God. You should speak to him before you talk to anybody else or do anything else. A lot of times what happens, the alarm on this will go off, right? So you pick your phone up, you hit the alarm, then what? Oh, let me see who texted me while I was asleep. Oh, then let me check this email. Oh, let me see what the weather is. Oh, there's some social media notifications. Okay, well, that was 15 minutes. Time for me to get up now and go be productive in the world. And you have not spent any time talking to God. So what I encourage is, prayer is just a conversation. A lot of times we feel like we have to use these big fancy words to talk to God. God's not interested in that. It's a conversation just like you and I are having, but it just needs to be an honest one. And so you can say a very simple prayer of God, good morning. Please get into my mind before the world does. Very simple. Because you want God to be in your mind. You want to go into the world with a kingdom perspective and with God on your mind before you go into the world. Remember, again, we're in the world, but not of the world. So we don't have any choice but to go out into it. We don't know what we're going to face. We don't even know what we're going to see on the phone. We may get bad news that morning. So you need to say, God, you get into my mind before the world does. I pray that every morning before I talk to my husband, before I talk to my daughter, they're in the house with me. They know I have to take a few minutes with God every morning and speak with him before I pick up the phone or talk to anyone else. That's my number one coaching tip. And when you do that, watch your days go by smoother. That does not mean that life is still not going to happen, but you will approach it and you will handle it a little bit differently because you started your mind or started your day with a kingdom mindset.
And so importantly as well, while I'm having a conversation with God, sit and listen. I think a lot of the times, people love to talk. And it's not that God doesn't want to hear what you have to say, but if you're constantly talking, then you're not quiet enough or still enough for him to be able for you to be able to hear what he's speaking in the moment. Take like 5 minutes, silence your spirit, be still, and know that he is God, know that he is Lord, and just hear what it is that he has to say. And I've definitely had to learn that over the years. Like, shut up and stop talking. Holy Spirit has actually told me, like, stop. Like
Yeah.
the way the Holy Spirit talks to me is like, are you done? Like, I need you to just be still and I need you to just listen because I have something to say. And this is where for me journaling is so important. Writing down what the Lord has said about my business, about my marriage, about my children, even about my job. Like, what is he speaking to me in this season? And so sometimes he tells me things that he's allowed for me to learn on my 9 to 5 job, and I'll have to think about it and just make sure that I'm exercising those things. So the fact that you still have a 9 to 5 job, I believe is important for what it is that God is going to do still in your ministry. I'll call it a ministry, right? What
Yes.
he's going to do in
Yes.
your business, because we pick up skills. God uses every single season, every single tool, but we pick up those skills on our 9 to 5 jobs and we can execute them in our business. So tell me some personal pivots that you've had to make either on your 9 to 5 or in your entrepreneurship to where you had the ambition to do something and God said, nope, I need you to do it this way.
Yeah. So for me, when I first got certified and I launched my business, I was like, I'm going to do all this one-on-one coaching. Like that was my focus. One-on-one coaching. I'm going to have one-on-one clients I'm going to work with, and that's going to be it. And God was like, no, you're not. So what I have found, although I do have one-on-one clients, of course, I have really found that people like master classes, workshops, and group sessions. And that has really taken off. I just had one in the month of November that we called Faith Over Grief when the holidays don't feel the same. And that was a group of women who attended that. And we really walked through what grief even is, what does it look like for everybody, and how do we look at grief from a biblical perspective. A lot of times I'll do master classes on spiritual warfare. That's probably my signature one. I've gone out to other churches and organizations and do that, but I would have never been open to that. I just knew it was going to be one-on-one coaching. But God is like, no, I want you to go out and do things in person as well. Do things like podcasts. I had never had on my plate that I was going to do that because I was just laser focused on God, give me the people so I can help them. But I thought it was always going to be one-on-one. And so, no, that's not the case. And so what I would say to anybody who is out there that wants to be an entrepreneur, just like we said, you got to listen to God. And I know sometimes people say, well, I can't hear him. No, God does not, come with a, loudspeaker behind us. But I promise you, if you talk to him more, you sit with him more, he will communicate in a way that will make sense to you and only you. And if you're still not sure if that's God, tell him that. Tell him that. Say, God, I don't know if that was you or the enemy. I need you to make it really clear. Was that you? So like when I started going into launching master classes, I'm like, God, is this you? Or is this the enemy setting me up for failure? Who's
You
talking
are
to me?
cracking me up.
Like, who's talking to me? Like, you want me to do what? Like, this is not what I was like. But he communicated it back to me in a way that I knew for sure it was him. But talk to God. He's your father. The same way we want our children to talk to us, talk to your dad. Say, I don't know. I'm unsure. Make it clear, make it plain. And that's that intimacy, that relationship that we're talking about. That's how you build that. But you have to start with those conversations.
So as you was talking, of course, I was thinking about Gideon. Gideon was like, Lord, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna lay this cloak down, and if this is you, can you fill it with dew? And it wasn't the first time that he did it. And I remember talking about that in a church service one day, and he did it multiple times. Now, God could have been like, I'm done talking to you. Like,
Right.
I've said it to you already, not once, not twice. I've said it to you multiple times, and you're not listening. Like, that could have been God. But God has such a grace and the desire for us to actually align with what he's saying, that he was showing just so much grace, so much love to get in. And he was like, however many times you need to understand that this is me, whatever it takes to build your confidence in what I'm speaking, I'll do that for you. And so as you were speaking, I began to think about Gideon in that. And for us, that is definitely it. Like, God, I'm not moving on this because I need confirmation. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's not that I don't have a heart or desire to do it. I just want to make sure that it is actually what you said. And sis,
Yes.
every time you adjust your glasses, I laugh. And let me tell you why. One morning I was taking my kids to their bus stop. They have to take the bus in the morning because I have to be to work so early, and they go to like two different schools. I'm like, listen, we're just gonna have to do the bus thing this year. But
Yeah.
anyway, and when I get up in the morning, I sit in the living room, I read, I pray, I do all of the things, but I never have my glasses. And this morning I forgot to put on my glasses. I start backing out of the driveway. I get on the road and I'm like, why can't I see?
You need your glasses. That's
Like, I
why.
can see, but it wasn't my normal vision. It wasn't my normal sight. And so
Right.
I was like, we're running late this morning too. And I'm like, I don't have time to go back. Like, I'm just gonna have to, we're just gonna have to go. Mercifully, the bus stop is not incredibly far from my house. But baby, I was driving with such uncertainty, such like I was so reluctant, you know what I mean? And so the point that you're making about the glasses, I think I keep laughing about it because I'm thinking about that time, right? I can
Yep.
drive this car just fine,
Mhm.
but I am uncertain
That's right. You're
and not
uncertain.
confident.
That's
And I
right.
can't be sure that, you know what I mean? And so I think that the point of the glasses, I think, is just so important. So every time you touch your glasses or you say something about your glasses, I
Listen.
start laughing. That's why I just wanted you to know.
I love that. And see, that's what I do. I give, if you watch any of my content or you come to any of my classes or you become a one-on-one coaching client, I'm going to give you things that are relatable. That's what I like. Sometimes we have, Christianity and things all up here and people cannot receive it. It's that simple. Yes, I can still see. We can drive the car, we can walk down the steps, but we're not going to do it with confidence. And that whole experience of driving the car, now you're walking through anxious because you don't really know if am I really seeing what I need to see? All right, God, just get me there. When God is saying, I gave you glasses, you just didn't want to put them on.
Know what you
Now
say.
you want me to do all this extra work to stop the cars from hitting you and you hitting them when all you had to do was put your glasses on. It's the same way with faith. I gave you the faith. You only need to have it as size of a mustard seed. That's all I said. And then you'll be fine. But you don't want to do that.
I think it's a
Listen,
it's a be strapped and be ready too. Like, since you got multiple pair of glasses, why don't you have a pair in your car?
right,
Like, if you
right,
carry the word with you everywhere that you go,
right.
if you
That's right.
hide that word in your heart, you are ready to go. And when opposition comes or mishaps happen, you can always reach back for that word and draw from that word and gain your strength from that word. So I know you see me laughing, so I just wanted to let you know why I was laughing so hard about the glasses.
No, I love that because guess what? 3 days from now, if you forget your glasses, you remember this conversation and you'll be laughing again. Yes, yes,
I will
yes.
be cracking up laughing, and my kids will be looking at me like I'm slap crazy. It's okay though. They already think I'm crazy. It's okay. We got that kind of
We,
yeah.
yes, it's
So
all
what are
love.
some strategies? We talked about you spending time with God.
Mhm.
What are some other strategies that you implement in your business to fully execute? And this is from a perspective, if you're talking to another coach and you're trying to tell another coach, hey, this is how you get this done, like this is a strategy that I use, what would you tell them?
Sure. So, definitely understanding that prayer is just a conversation. That's what I tell coaches to do. You cannot dress up prayer as this big fancy thing. It's literally a conversation. Jesus, just the word Jesus can be a prayer. God, I'm sad. I need help. God, I don't know what to do. All those things are prayers. It does not have to be, oh Lord, where art thou and all that. No, 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 no. That's how we were raised, though. And so, honestly, a lot of what I do as a coach is unpacking lies that we tell ourselves about God, right? And that other people have told us about God, and that, of course, we believe about ourselves. So, when you're praying, it's a conversation. Just be honest, put the Clorox wipe over your feelings so they're, really real, right? And stripped down, and just talk to God about how you feel. So, that would be number one. Number two, whenever I'm coaching, I coach from a translation of the Bible called the Message Translation. The Message Translation. And I recommend to anyone watching, if you are new in your spiritual walk and you need a Bible, get the Message Translation. Or if you've had a Bible forever, but let's be honest, you can't understand the King James Version, that's okay. The Message Translation gives you the Bible in regular English just for 2025. It will say Jesus walked outside and put two shoes on. Like, it's very basic language that everybody can understand, even your children. And it's on, if you don't want to buy a physical Bible, you can get it on the apps, on our phones that are free. But I always coach from the Message Translation because what does it serve you to say, oh, I read the whole Bible, but you don't understand it. So what did you read? You can't make sense of it. You need to have a Bible that you can understand. And then just understanding that, God has to be a part of your everyday. I tell coaches all the time, God has to be a part of someone's everyday. It has to be a part of your routine. So maybe you're a person that likes to work out and that's a part of your routine, right? Well, God has to be somewhere in your day and it cannot be reserved for grace. Because for some people, that's when people talk to God, is when they say grace over their food, and that's it. You have to have him as a part of you laughing. Look, I saw that smile, but that's true
Yeah.
because we're so busy, and busyness sometimes can be of the enemy. If you are so busy that you don't have no time to pray, you have no time to read a Bible, any of that stuff, then nothing should separate us in that way from God. We know nothing
Yeah.
will, but if you're so busy, girl, that you ain't got no time for God, well, then what are we really doing? What are we doing? And then lastly, and this is probably the biggest one, go tell everybody. It's okay to ask God questions.
Girl, listen.
That's probably the number one lie that I have to break down in my clients and that I help other coaches with their clients. It is okay to ask God questions. I'm gonna say again, it's okay to ask God questions. God can handle it. He's not gonna be mad at you. He wants you. It literally says to take every thought captive and bring it to him. But what do? We get in the group chat. Like, what y'all think about this? We get on the discussion board, tell our whole life story to strangers. We get on social media and we post all these quotes that we don't even believe at the end of the day. It's aesthetics, it's optics, right? I'm a Christian on social media, but when your back is really against the wall, why are you not asking God, am I in your will? Is this right? Why are you not saying to God, God, I'm upset about where my life is right now. I feel forgotten. When I went through all that stuff with my health, I was honest with God. God, I'm mad. God, I feel forgotten. I feel like I fell off a list. Like, how could you give me a husband and a daughter and a good career and all these other things, and I can't even be a good steward? I thought you said we were supposed to be good stewards. It's okay to ask, how will you ever get the clarity and direction to move forward if you never ask your creator why you're in the situation you're in, or what are you supposed to learn? What am I not getting? But a lot of us were raised to feel like, "Oh, you can't ask God any questions because we don't question God." That is so wrong. And that's why a lot of times we allow the world to lead us in the wrong way, because we don't just take it to God. Who knows better than him? Nobody.
Right.
So pray is a conversation. Look into the message translation. Make God a part of your routine, even if it's in the car, just turning on worship music and swapping out, something for a little bit of worship music in the car. That's still getting God in your part of your routine. And it is okay to ask God questions. He can handle it.
To take every thought captive. What I've learned is that you can't take a thought captive if you ignore it. Like
That's right.
you can't take dominance over it. You can't take control over it if you're just gonna act like it's not there. And so I remember one day I was sitting on my bed and I was in tears. I was really upset about something and I was crying and I was like, but God, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. And he was like, basically, this is how God talks to me. He was like, stop. Like, how do you actually feel? And I was like, okay, God. I just started going in, and God was like, feel better. Like, he wanted me, like, he knows our heart. So it's crazy that he knows our heart, but we still feel like what it is religion. It's a spirit of religion. And what it is we feel like we have to not speak these things because then you're questioning God. But the point of having the relationship with God as God's your father and you're the daughter, you can align with what it is that he's speaking. If you don't understand it, you got to ask the questions. You got to tell him how you feel about it so that he can get you to a place of understanding of what it is that he's feeling. And that's what it is religious prayers. Thou for art, blah, 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 is we feel
Yep.
like we have to have these religious prayers where sometimes we just have to sit down and say, God, I don't understand. Like literally. Just saying, God, I don't understand. And so I do love the message version of the Bible. I will say, using it as a coaching tool, I think is absolutely amazing. But for me, I think you also need to have that reference of either King James or New King James, because sometimes I don't agree with everything that's in the message Bible, but
And
I
I, and
do
I get
think
that.
yeah, I do think it's an amazing coaching tool. And so I'm not a pastor's kid. I am an evangelist kid, and my mother was
Afraid to say.
prophetic.
I was going to ask you, are you a PK?
No, I am not a PK. I'm an EK. I'm an evangelist kid. But my mother was very prophetic. And I'm like, God, why do you keep telling this lady my business? You know
That's
what
what,
I'm
right,
saying?
right. Yeah.
Yes. So even though she was not a pastor per se, she was prophetic and God always spoke to her concerning me. And she would tell me some things, but I'm sure she didn't tell me a lot of things. She just prayed or she went to the source that she needed to go to concerning me. And so for me, having that time with God is also the same thing. Like, this is how you steward it well.
Yeah,
God will
absolutely.
tell you what's going on with your children, what's going on with your husband. Hey, this is what you're about to face today. One day I remember he told me, he said, be peace. And I was like, oh, okay. So my thought is, and this too, like, get complete clarity of what God's speaking. I'm like, okay, so this job is about to give me some trouble today. Baby, it was them kids.
Yeah, I
It
was about
was
to say it probably wasn't even the job. It was the people in your house.
It was them kids. And so my daughter called and she said something. She's away to college. She called and she said something. And she said, what is going on? I said, what is going on? I said, you and this child and this child and this child. Baby, what is y'all doing? I said, when God told me to be peace this morning, I didn't know he meant towards my own kids. So
Right,
I
right.
definitely think I love the tips that you give. to your clients and to other coaches to make sure that they go from this state of surviving into a place of thriving. Absolutely important. And what made you think I was a PK?
You have PK energy, I would just say. Like, you give off all of you, well, we won't say PK, you are EK. But for those that were raised in that sort of household, it really is just your assurance of who God is, and being, unapologetically able to say that. So it's not a bad thing, but it's just something, it's a vibe or a glow that typically you all give off, but in a good way. I
Oh
am
gosh,
not a
I
PK.
absolutely
I'm
love
not a
you.
PK, by the way. I was raised in the church, but I'm not a PK, EK, none of that.
Me and my husband were talking because we were talking about just families who don't go to church, they don't know God, they don't serve God. Like, there are whole generations who have not been poured into concerning God.
Mhm.
And just I was saying grandmothers have a responsibility. If your child is missing the mark, pour into your grandchildren. Don't
Mhm.
let these whole generations go by without knowing God, because what happens is generations down the line, I mean, the level of spiritual warfare is so increased and nobody knows where to start.
That's right. That's right. And when we get so far apart, because we know the enemy, girl, he out here working overtime. He is really doing everything to discourage us. Even people who were raised in the church, their faith is wavering just because of what is happening in the world. And when your family has absolutely no Christian footing or kingdom footing, how will you ever fight the enemy? The Bible tells us he is prowling around like a roaring lion, seeking to devour. That is not somebody who is riding around on a broom, girl. Like, that means he is coming to take us out. How can you fight that and you have no kingdom basis in your entire bloodline? But that's where a lot of people are. And so my husband and I always say, similar to you and yours, it sounds like, if the goal is to make heaven full, then what are you doing? Where is your part? Where is your role that you're playing? So even for you having the podcast, that's part of what you're doing to make heaven full. That's what we're doing as coaches, right? Because we understand the goal. But for a lot of people, they think, and this may step on some toes, that once I get saved or I finally get it together, that it stops with me. That's never going to be enough. I just told you, it says he's prowling around like a roaring lion, seeking to devour. It cannot ever be enough with you. You got to get your children in the kingdom. You got to get your neighbors, your friends, if you can, the people on your job, if it's safe for you to have that conversation, but it can be nobody left behind. We have to give it all we've got to make heaven full because we are running out of time. We're running out.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone put it like that, or if I have, I don't remember, but we have to make heaven full.
That's the whole purpose, is to make heaven full. Otherwise, what are we doing? It's not about going to work every day. It's not about going to Chick-fil-A. It's not about going on vacation. All those things are great. But really, our time here, we are all disciples. Like, we're not Christians, quote unquote, right? We are, but we're disciples. And what does that mean? What Jesus said, we go get that one more. We leave that 99 to get the one, just like he did. So no, it's never enough just for you to be saved. Go back and get somebody else, just like somebody had to get you. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
I had one guest on, and we were talking about marriage and her husband, and she said something that was so pivotal, so key, that I think a lot of people need to understand. Well, first of all, if you're a Christian and you're spending time with God and you don't feel the pressure of, hey, I need you to get on your assignment so that you can save souls. Like, if you're, I don't know if it's just me, but it is an increase. I need you to get there because we have to get these people saved. We have to get these families restored. We have to do what we need to do to make sure that these people are advancing the kingdom here on earth. But she said, how can I go about my day like everything all good? Meanwhile, the people closest to me are about to bust hell wide open.
Child. Yeah, listen.
I was like, oh, when you really think about it in that way. And so for me, when what I do working with wives to restore their marriage and restore their family, it really hit me in a different way. And the reason why is because there are wives who are ready to walk away from these
Hmm.
marriages,
Yeah.
bitter, angry, frustrated. Meanwhile, your husband is still deep in sin, and he needs to be delivered. He needs someone to intercede for him. Now, I'm not the one telling you to say whatever God tells you to do, God tells you to do. But the importance of interceding and praying for those around us so that their scales can drop from their eyes and they can see the light and see the revelation, like that is so important. So I love Kingdom Coaches. Like, I love Kingdom Coaches and the messages that they give that helps to build up these people in the kingdom so that we can make heaven full.
And you may be the only person praying for someone. Like you really don't know. Even if you've been praying for 5 years and you feel like nothing has changed, don't stop praying. Every prayer you do, the windows of heaven open up for them a little bit more. And look, sometimes I pray, God, continue to make them uncomfortable until they recognize you. Like I don't want their life to be easy peasy. Make them uncomfortable until they can recognize you. Because when
Wait,
my job is done, I'm going to say, I gave it all I had, God. That's my job. I gave it all I had. If they didn't get it right, it was not because I did not pray. It wasn't because I did not try to intercede on their behalf. I gave it all that I had.
yeah, my grandpa used to pray, don't let them go to sleep at night.
Right. Wake them up at 3 a.m.
Insomnia.
Yeah, wake them up at 3 a.m. Which also, let me say, for people that always feel like they're up at 3 a.m., that is not always the enemy. You do not always need to reach for the melatonin or what is the cherry juice I see is a trending thing. Sometimes it's God. Yeah, girl, they said drink some kind of cherry juice. Sometimes it's God. You know why? Because at 3 a.m., there are no emails, there's no social media, there's no text messages. That's the only time where God can say, okay, you want to hear me now? Are you ready to listen? Because you spent all day in the world. You didn't even talk to me. So now I'm going to wake you up and I'm going to tell you what I want you to hear. So when I can't sleep in the middle of the night and I feel like it's not a spiritual attack, I say, all right, God, what you want me to know? Because clearly I didn't have enough time to pay attention during the day. What do you want me to know? And because I trust him and he's brought me through so much, I don't worry about the next day. Am I going to be tired? Maybe, but I bet you he will give me everything I need to complete whatever the day's tasks are. Sleepy or not, I will make it through and he'll give me that rest back that next day because I trust him. We are in a relationship. So I know him as my dad. He's going to give it back to me on the back end.
Amen. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Faith over fear is a blessing in the community. I know it's a blessing in the kingdom community. So share with us anything that you want to share, what you have coming up, any extra tips you want to give. Please talk about your book and just pour out.
So, Faith Over Fear Biblical Life Coaching. I'm on all social media platforms. So, if you're on TikTok, I'm on there. Sometimes I do go live on there as well. Facebook, Instagram, I'm on all of those platforms to follow me. If you would like to see what one-on-one life coaching is for you, certainly when you find me on social media, you can click all the links in my bio and you can reserve yourself a free 15-minute discovery call. And I will walk you through what the Faith Lifestyle Program is. And we can see if you feel like you would be a good fit as a client. I'm not doing any master classes or workshops for the month of December, but as I said, I will be having one in January that is going to be tied to faith forward and creating some spiritual goals and a real spiritual plan for the new year. December, we're focusing on finishing strong and reflecting on things, but then January, in the beginning of it, follow me again on social media for the dates and how you can reserve your seat. And that is going to be a free class. I typically do 1 or 2 free classes a year, so that's going to be a free one. So you want to make sure you reserve your seat for that as well, so we can start the new year fresh. But then also, my brand new baby, as I can say, is my debut children's book, which is called The Heaven Team. And you're going to love this because I know you saw my daughter on social media talking about this, but I want to tell you where this came from. So, my husband, his aunt passed away. My daughter at the time was 6 and a half. That was the first person that she like really could identify, and saying like this person is not going to be here anymore. So when we went to tell her, she said, "Mommy, do you mean the Heaven Team came to get her?" And I looked at her like, what is the heaven team? What do you mean? And she's like, isn't that the team of angels who come and get you when the doctors can't help you anymore and the police and firefighters can't fix you either? And they take you to heaven and get you settled. And then after you get settled and unpack in heaven, then you go meet Jesus? And I said, well, yeah, I guess that is what happened, although I've never heard of it that way. And just randomly, I said to somebody that what I just said to you, and they said, you should turn that into a book. And I was like, what? I just became a biblical life coach. I really don't know anything about writing a book, but God has a way when He wants you to do something, the same way He would show me advertisements for biblical life coaching. He would put people in my life because I ran from this. I was like, I don't know anything about writing a book. Would I even be successful? And so even as coaches, sometimes we struggle sometimes to hear. That's the transparent part. We're still human, just like everybody. So sometimes we struggle to know, is this really God? Should I really do this? But when when we are clear with Him, He will continue to make it clear in a way that we need to hear, like we were saying. So He lined up all the divine people, and we introduced this past weekend the Heaven Team, A Child's Guide to Love, Loss, and Heaven to the World. Now you'll see it'll say by Nicole Grace because that is my pen name that I adopted. And it is a fully illustrated children's book. So it is a fully illustrated children's book, and it takes readers on the journey of Skylar and Noah and their friendship and their experience with loss as two best friends and understanding what the Heaven Team is. And so this is now available on Amazon for anybody that's interested in it. It can come to you in 2 days if you have Prime. And then we also released, and girl, this is hot off the press, so it's exclusive for you because this is even a proof I have in my hand. Our coloring and activity book. So this is a coloring and activity book. It's also available on Amazon that walks you through, coloring with Skylar and Noah. There's all kinds of mazes and spot the difference. You get to write your own prayer and draw your own heaven team. So this is the companion coloring and activity book that goes along with it that you can find also on Amazon. And this is just the beginning. There's going to be a pet edition will be the next one because we know when animals pass away, what do you say? I remember my daughter, her goldfish we thought was going to die. And my husband and I were like Googling like YouTube videos or like books that explain like where'd they go? We didn't really find anything. So pets we know are a part of our family. Our children grieve for them as well. And so we want to be able to help them from a biblical perspective, understand where did your pet go? Are they okay not being here anymore? And so that's really the goal with these books is to get children to understand that heaven is not a bad place. It's not a scary place. We want them to acknowledge grief. We want them to understand grief and loss and that it is something that's going to happen, but that there is something that is positive on the other side of it.
Yes, yes, and yes. I love it. I have a 3-year-old, so I'll be ordering some books. She probably
Yes.
can't touch it right now, but because
Yeah.
right now she just likes to tear up stuff. Lord
Yeah, I'll
bless
say
her.
she's just gonna rip it up.
She's just gonna rip it on us. So we're
Yes.
gonna put it up until we get to
Yes.
the point where we can actually use it. But I think your books sound absolutely amazing and very helpful for children because it even gives an early introduction into like the life process and the death process and going into heaven. And baby, that was the tearjerker right there. She said, "Did the heaven team
She did.
like did that just like?"
I looked, but this is why I remember I said earlier, like sometimes she coaches me.
Yeah.
Like who's ever said that? Like, and the fact that at 6.5, she could process heaven in that way. And so, we had a little like book launch event here in my hometown just for like my family and friends. And we allowed her to be interviewed. And I said to her, what do you want people to know reading the book? And she said, I want them to understand that heaven is not a scary place. It's a place that we should all strive to go. And it's good there. So, because I've heard stories since we've been launching where one parent shared with me that her child says, I hate heaven. Heaven is a bad thing. It takes everybody that I love. And so I want children to be able to understand, just like my daughter said, yes, this is a part of life. It is, something we cannot avoid. So even if you don't have loss in your family now, we know life is going to happen. Someone is going to pass at some point, and you need your children to be prepared. You need to prepare them for the world. And you don't want them to lose their faith. That's the other part. You don't want them to harden their little hearts or harden themselves against God, against Jesus, and against heaven because you are not prepared to explain it to them. Because if I asked you to explain heaven to a child, what would you say? What would you say?
Even as you're explaining that, I hear the Lord saying that book is not just for children.
It's not. I mean, I've had people message me and say, I got this because I need to understand what happened to my mom 4 weeks ago.
That is
Yeah,
not just for children.
no.
That
Like,
book
how do
is
you
for
explain
other
it?
people,
Yeah.
adults, full-grown adults who just really have not thought about the process and have not prepared their heart for what God's plan is. So, I love that. And so, Faith Over Fear, working with women who, I'm just going to put it in this way, the enemy is trying to use their health to shut their mouth. Or their
Absolutely. Yes.
situation, spiritual health, mental health, physical health, to shut their mouth. And they have work to do in the kingdom. So you work with these women. And if you have not seen the clip of her daughter talking about the book, I'm attaching that clip to the end of this because I saw it and she is so cute and she explained it so well. So I absolutely have to attach it to the end of this podcast. But thank you so much for joining us. You gave out your website, correct?
I don't, you can just search Faith Over Fear, Biblical Life
Okay.
Coaching. You can search
Okay.
that. It'll come up for you on Google or any of your search engines. You can put the same thing into any of the social media platforms. We know a lot of times people use that to search and it'll pop up. You'll always see me in my coach's hat. So as long as you see me in my coach's hat, you know for sure that you have found me. Give me a follow. And then that's the easiest way to stay up to date with everything that Faith Over Fear has to offer. You can also search for the Heaven Team book on social media. That is also on all social media platforms. And as we continue to share more of the story or what's next for Skylar and Noah, that is the best way to stay up to date with them as well.
Oh, I absolutely love all of that. So thank you so much for joining us and for pouring into the Kingdom Wife Boss community. We are going to say goodbye now. Bye, ladies.
Thank you.
Talk
Have a
to you
good
later.
one, everyone.
Hey, I hope that you enjoyed the episode. Make sure that you catch us every week here on the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast, where we are bringing you new episodes, new content, new information, new empowerment, new strategies, and new strength. Until then, I'll catch you next time.